Yo, this is Steve, back with another episode of the Black Superheroes Matter podcast. Today's guest, we have Corey Idleburg. Corey is a marketing and creative professional specializing in content marketing, SEO, and brand management. He's teamed up with other creatives to develop an animated series, film, and podcast. Corey is also a moderator on the Black Creatives subreddit and volunteers his free time to nonprofits focused on community development. You can definitely check out his work at SeeIdleburg and CoreyIdleburg.com. And so without further ado, we definitely get things going with a great conversation, and it should be interesting. I think you'll find some interesting insights from this conversation. Among other conversations, but this one in particular as it pertains to things you often wouldn't think had creativity in it. And so without further ado, let's go ahead and get this started. So before we get this started, I must say, as a disclaimer, the ideas, views, comments, and opinions expressed during this podcast are solely the interviewees and do not express the views and opinions of the United States Army or any other military organization that he is otherwise detached to. This podcast is not affiliated with the United States Army, and all comments, gripes, and complaints should be sent to the show directly. That means me. And so if you got problems and you got, some stuff you want to get off your chest, definitely hit up the website. Definitely hit up the social nets. Black Superheroes Matter on everything. And so again, we'll get to it. I wanted to take a break from the episode to let you know that we have some merch that is available. Over at Iltopia Studios, you can find the Black Superheroes Matter art book, which is a collection of illustrations that reimagine your favorite superheroes through the eyes of children of color. We also have a bunch of sticker packs, over 120 different sticker designs of your favorite superheroes. More importantly, we have our Color Me Super coloring book series. Definitely check out the merch at shop.iltopia.com or blacksuperheroesmatter.com. And now back to the episode. Thanks for hopping on the podcast. Really appreciate you taking the time to, really let us know about sort of the Reddit space and how you got started and everything. So how's everything going with you?
I'm doing pretty good. Everybody, just like everybody else, I'm at home, working from home. So it's not too much work going on because, a lot of the things that I do creative. And so it has to deal with like printing and stuff. So even if I have a project or a work order that I have to do, I still have to like get in my clothes, go to work and do whatever I need to do and come home.
Yeah. It's just, the whole idea of just like going to Kinko's and getting something printed. And then, after you finish designing it or whatever, that's kind of a luxury right now. It's not something that the average person can do. And so it's really interesting, especially for me, because I make my own books. It's like, okay, is this going to mean that, my process for creating comic books and graphic novels has to change now? Is, just those $1 million questions or at the forefront of my mind that I didn't really think I would have to worry about.
Right. I hear that.
Yeah. And so creatively, like what do you do creatively?
All right. So starting out, I'm in the Army. I don't know if I told you before. So I'm in the Army. And so we have a separate group of individuals that we do photography, graphics, video. And so I'm at a point in my career where I would be considered a creative director. So depending on where I go would determine the type of work I do. So right now I'm in a graphic shop. I'm the lead in the graphic shop. So we make posters and brochures and flyers for different events that's going around on the installation and just, whatever they ask us to do.
So that is really interesting because that's probably the last thing that like I would think about when I hear somebody's in the Army, that right. They're a creative director or there's a graphic shop in the military. I mean, like obviously we see all the the military videos and posters and all the promo stuff, but you don't really think of people in the military actually coming up with those ideas and creating that stuff. You think it's
Right.
just like some oddball creative agency that has never done a push up before, but knows all that stuff. But how did you kind of get into that in the Army? I didn't, how did you even realize that was an opportunity or an avenue to even explore?
So let me see. I was 17 in high school. Didn't know what I wanted to do. So when I went through the process, so like my cousin joined a year before, and then one of my best friends joined. So I talked to them about it. That's how I got interested in it. And so, I went through the process, took the test and everything. And then I met this guy that used to come to the store that I worked at. He actually worked at the station where I had to go and pick my job. And so when I was sitting down with the counselor, he just kind of left it open to like, hey, what do you want to do? And I knew that I was already into creativity. Like I was already doing photography and stuff. And so I was like, but I want to try something different. So I picked creative. But also in the back of my mind, I was a programmer. So one of the things I did when I was in school is I created a video game. So my mindset was already thinking forward to where if I could do my own graphics, and drawings and stuff, if I can pick this up, then I can make my own graphics and stuff for my own games or whatever I create as far as applications. And so that's how that's why I chose this specific career field.
Huh, interesting. And so I would imagine the idea of being a starving artist or a starving creator doesn't necessarily apply to you because you're in the military, but you're also sort of building and fine-tuning your creative skills and your passion. So I feel like that's kind of like the best of both worlds that quite often people don't get the opportunity to have coming straight out of high school.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely different. But we do a lot of the same projects that individuals that are at these big agencies and stuff. We could do a lot of that same stuff. It's just depends on the scale.
Yep. And on top of that, you're serving your country. And so,
Yeah.
you get those extra benefits.
Right.
My girlfriend is a military kid. And so I think she's the only one out of, I want to say, yeah, she's the only one out of like her immediate family that's not in the military. And so everybody, I think her mom was in the Army. Her father and her father, I think grandfather and uncle are military physicians, Navy physicians. And then her sister, one of her sisters, is still in the Navy, and then her other older sister just joined the Air Force. And so she's pursuing medicine, and she's like trying to wait till she gets into medical school so she could join. I think the Navy, I think, is where she's trying to go. And I'm definitely going to be talking to her about like, hey, you're a writer, and she's also trying to learn how to make a video game. We're doing like all the Unity stuff right now, and so it's like you're interested in all the creative stuff. I think there's an opportunity for you.
Yeah.
And yeah, wow. I mean, that's just something that I just never knew was like an actual opportunity to explore. Because quite often you just think about military, guns, fighting, all these different things, maybe being a physician, but that's just because people get injured, but never necessarily like the creative stuff, like photography and like all that stuff. And so like, what is sort of like the balance that you have with like the creative, mandates of the military and sort of like the stereotypical like military stuff?
So it depends on where you go. What the organization's mission is. So the unit that I'm in now, like I said, it's just graphics. So if they have an event going on within the installation, so we create, like I said, posters, or if somebody needs a logo or some type of presentation created, then we create those things. If you go into a place where their majority of their mission is like photography and video, then that's what you're going to do. There's a specific job geared towards documentation. And so what you do is you go to these different locations based on requests, and you photograph, if there's so like I went out with the Navy once, and we did like some humanitarian assistance stuff, where they were like going to schools and handing out things for like kids and all of that. So it just, like I said, it ranges from like that combat military stuff and the good thing, the humanitarian and things that we do to help the community.
Okay. And so since everything is kind of started with the lockdowns and all that stuff, how's that affected the things that you were doing or like really excited about in like these future projects? Because you say that like you're going all over the place and working with different branches and stuff. Like, how is like the state of affairs now sort of changed that or altered it?
At least for me, it slowed down a bit as far as creatively, but we picked up a few projects here and there to give us a chance to get out and do different things. But yeah, it has slowed down a lot. Everybody's mainly working from home on Microsoft Teams or whatever messaging platform that you use. So yeah, it's totally different.
Okay, yeah, and so what other stuff are you doing? Because obviously, like being part of the military and doing all that stuff isn't just the only thing that you're doing. I think that we connected with on Reddit out of all places. And and so how to kind of like tell us a little bit about like all the other stuff that you're doing outside of just like your military roles and stuff.
Okay, so the community, the sub that we met on, Black Creatives, another young lady created that, Aisha, Art for Aisha, she created that back in like December, and then I just saw it and I was like, I'm a creative, would you like to have a mod and get some help? And she was just like, yeah. So, and I always in the back of my mind, I thought that as a Black creative, we don't get a lot of press as far as the things that we do. So I had already thought of creating a sub on Reddit specifically for Black creatives. And then she just kind of, went ahead and did it. And then I just kind of joined in. Some of the other things I do is I met a friend of mine like 2 years ago. He's got a production company. He's trying to create an animated series. And so I'm helping him develop that as part of one on his marketing team and kind of one of the co-founders for that. And then there's another team that I met. They're trying to come up with an animated film. It's supposed to be like they want to take like the anime style and turn it into like a 3D version.
Okay.
So I'm on the marketing team for that too. What else? That's really about it as far as what I can think of for now, as far as different projects that I'm working on. And then I do volunteer work here and there, just kind of use my creative skills just to kind of give back to the community.
Yeah. And so it sounds like you're really in sort of like the marketing area of the creative stuff. And I think that as a creative, like particularly Black creators in general, like from all the indie creators and publishers and stuff that I've talked to, the marketing is always sort of like across the board one of the biggest hurdles, and just for Black creativity, because you have the skills or you have the passion to create things and produce things, but then it's a matter of like, how do you get it out to people and how do you let other people see it? And so I found sort of this intersection with the rise of Kickstarter and print on demand and the whole convention scene and how that's really propelled Black creativity and has allowed the internet to use the internet to build a community. But then it becomes this whole idea of how do you overcome some of those like digital barriers, and how do you overcome those just the problems of getting the word out when you don't have a big budget and you don't know a lot of people, but you're creating really good stuff, and it's just one of those things that's just like been very interesting and difficult for Black creators across the board. And so obviously there's stuff with like Reddit. Reddit is an amazing place, and people have mixed feelings about it depending on what subreddit you stumble upon. Right. And but I think Reddit is really underutilized, and as I'm talking again, the train is back. But yeah, like how has Reddit sort of like informed and introduced you to like more being more creative?
So I try to, I don't know, I try to interact a little bit more on, like, I'm not a big social media person, so I'm trying to get into that a little bit more. And so I spend a good deal of time on Reddit, because even though you're a creative person, I think that you should still interact with other forms of media, or like other, different things to kind of spark your creativity. So like I could be on Reddit looking at like different artists and stuff like that to build up that inspiration and all that other stuff. But a lot of times I'll go to just stuff that's just off the wall, out of left field stuff that I would never think of. You know what I mean? Like go on Behance or something like that and just click on some random thing, because I think you can get inspiration from anywhere. So, and that's one thing that I like about Reddit. Like they have all these different subs, and people post different, they start different conversations, and it kind of gets you thinking, and that's kind of what helps spark my creativity. It kind of helps me get through my process.
Yeah. And so like with Reddit, people often will look at it as just an opportunity to just post stuff. But what is sort of the power of interacting rather than just sort of just posting stuff and then just dipping out?
So it's kind of like the same thing with social media. You don't want to, it's almost considered spamming if you're just posting stuff and you're trying to most marketers are trying to get you to, to engage and do something with theirs, like go to their website or listen to their podcast. So if you engage with the community, you're basically showing them that you care about them and their opinions. And so that'll help build your reputation up. Because now we're in an era where people care about, if you're showing that you care about them and their opinions and stuff like that. So if you just kind of go on there, drop something and then leave, and then when people reply, you're not replying back, then people are just not going to pay you any attention anymore.
Yeah. And so it becomes it sounds like it becomes an extra task, but it's more of an investment rather than just, extra work.
Right.
And and I think that's something that, a lot of people can sort of take that idea from like how you interact with people in conventions and do well with that, but just convert that to a digital workflow to where, we don't have conventions right now. And so all the people that you would typically talk to at a convention, you could just talk to X amount of those people on Reddit or on all these different platforms that people are going to right now.
Right. Yeah. It's definitely, social media is, like I said, I'm not a big fan, but it does, in a time like this, it definitely like connects people, from different, because I've met people from all over the world. I'm in this marketing community on Slack, and I've met people from like, Australia, Romania, India, Japan, like, and you just interact and you just, they have like a section where you just hang out and just talk about random, stuff non-related to marketing. And then you can also go into like the different channels and speak on specific things like content marketing or social media or whatever, ask questions and answers. So that interaction is going to be real important here over the next, I would say at least to the end of the year. And then it'll be interesting to see if anybody comes up with any new apps or things so people can interact with each other.
Yeah, because it's like as things start to open up, things are just going to be different. And I'm really, really curious to see how that sort of affects the blur community, the cosplay community, really just all those sort of communities that are extensions of that in-person experience and that creative expression. Because literally it's a paradigm shift. Like this stuff literally changed overnight, and people are just running around trying to figure out how to like continue doing what they enjoy.
Right. And so I would think that in a time like this, hopefully people are thinking, like you said, thinking about things that they can do differently since we have this time going on now. And one thing that came to mind for me was VR. If you could create a virtual experience as far as like these Comic-Cons and things like that, then I could just, sit in my room or sit in my chair with my VR headset on and go over to all these different booths and, interact with these people. So there's a lot of different ideas. I'm sure people are mulling around in their brain, and I'm sure we'll see them in the next year. So
hey, I'm in the AR space right now, and so
it was pretty cool, man. What you did with the fist, the book covers, that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah, Yeah, it's one of the things that I am really trying to push is for in the AR space. It's been around for a little bit, but like it's starting to become more of a mass adoption of it because
Hmm.
we have the technology with like our phones, and you don't have to pay $2,000 for a headset if you
Right.
have like a phone and stuff. And so
Hmm.
I'm really making this push to like develop a free online course to just like help black people in particular like get like dive deeper into AR and using like Unity and pretty much like all the free tools, because everything is, as a developer, like everything, there's a lot of free stuff that's available,
That's right. Yep.
and people just don't know that they could do a lot of stuff if they have the time and they have like a little bit of guidance.
Right.
And so just kind of like empowering the community to sort of like look into AR and VR, because that's going to be one of the big things that's going to come out of like this year is just the increase in development for that because of all the
Okay.
distancing stuff. And so if somebody is looking for a new industry to kind of break into,
That's right.
because we're all trying to do that. I mean, Bitcoin was like a perfect example of like how people were kind of struggling to like jump into something really early. um
Hmm.
I think AR is one of those things that like you could really make some waves really, really quickly and not have to have a certification or a degree in it,
Right. Yeah.
And
I'm
so
looking for somebody to produce a VR, kind of like how, I don't know if you've seen the movie Ready Player One.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
read the book. Yeah, I want something like that. Like I'm sure somebody's already cranking on it. Just I'm ready for it.
yeah, it's just I think as more creatives get into the space, then that's where like it really changes, because we're seeing like a lot of great stuff happening from like the Instagram filters and all
Yeah,
those things, which are AR, which is AR.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it wasn't until like they opened up the platforms for creators to create in it, and then that's where you get sort of like the stuff that we sort of appreciate. Because otherwise, it was just the only AR thing that we could really think about was Pokemon Go, and
No,
and like when that dropped, it was like, oh
it
man,
was there. Uh
this
huh.
is this is this is something else. And then there was just sort of just that dry spell. Well, I guess Snapchat filters when
Oh
that
yeah,
dropped, that was
yeah.
that was the big thing. Then Pokemon Go, and then all that. And so, I'm really pushing for a lot more people to sort of like look into it as just a something to either follow or something to play around with here and there, and see
Right,
how they could implement that into their creativity.
right.
Um,
I think a lot of times though, for some creatives that I meet, they have a hard time with the technology part and the creative part, like combining that coding and the, you know what I
yeah,
mean? They just want to just, drag and drop, they just want it to be real easy. But it's like, if you put a little more extra effort into it, you can make this really awesome thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's the beauty of where technology is now, is that you don't have to you don't have to be a seasoned coder. I mean, at this point, you could just go onto like the Unity forum and just copy and paste some of the code,
Oh,
and and
yeah.
and all that stuff now. And so, for me, I take it from the approach of I'm not a coder. I know a little bit, but that's just from just playing around.
Right.
But how can you develop an app in Unity with the minimal amount of like coding? Just knowing how to use the software rather
Yeah.
than knowing
Yeah.
a language. And so I'm like trying to come up with, because that's what I do right now. I crank out apps and I make different pages and stuff, because my problem was I'm an animator, and
Hmm.
the only way for people to see my stuff is if I give them a link and give them like a video screen, or send them like a YouTube video. That's the only
Right.
way you could get it. And so with AR, they could get a book, download an app, and they could experience animation in a new way.
Hmm.
And it sort of like changed my idea of what I could do as an animator. And so I could only imagine if somebody is familiar with 3D models and familiar with motion graphics, or they like to do voiceovers with
Right.
and they could take that stuff to a whole new level, and still be tied to a book, which in comics and stuff, digital stuff ain't, people aren't buying digital comics like that. Like,
No, not really. I have some, but not a lot.
yeah, it's like I'll pick up a graphic novel, and
Mhm.
get like a nice hard case or hardback, a graphic novel. But I'm not gonna spend that same amount of money on a digital comic. It's like, I'm not doing
No,
that.
no, that don't make sense. That's
Yeah,
something I never understood when they switched over to digital. Is like you're not really getting a new experience when you're getting the digital comic, so you might as well just go to the store and buy it.
yeah,
Have a copy.
yeah. Or at least if you make a digital comic, make it easy to access on like a mobile device. I think I just started looking into
Mm.
webtoon and like tapas or tapastic or whatever, and I really like how that sort of experience is for reading a comic in a different way, where
Right.
they use sort of like the infinite scroll, and it really sort of, they use space and time in a different way that you wouldn't do in a regular comic. And so I really
Okay.
appreciate that sort of approach,
Mhm.
and I started to like implement that into like when I do like my digital comics, and yeah, I think it just sort of adapting to the landscape is really something that I think people kind of just have to do, and I think creatives do that just because there's new tools and everything and new ideas. Um, but yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm really curious how it evolves, how it's going to change because of all this stuff.
Right. Right.
And so
Yeah.
one of the things that I always like to ask people is like what sort of projects and stuff are you like really excited about coming up down the pipeline for you?
Well, these two animated projects, obviously, they're going to take a long time. They're still in development phases, so those are two projects that I'm very excited about. Like the series the creator has made this full universe of diverse characters like black, Asian, mixed. Like he's all about creating characters of diverse backgrounds, people of color. And so I'm very excited about that specifically that project. The other project is cool, but that one is, I think it's gonna blow the minds, because I know a lot of like black African Americans, they're really into like anime and sci-fi and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So it's I think people are really gonna enjoy the series once we get everything rolling.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, because I think at this point the most recent the most recent idea of like a black anime, or black series, black cartoon, is Cannon Busters. And if anybody sort of followed Cannon Busters from like its Kickstarter days all the way to like getting the deal with Netflix, it's it takes time,
Yeah, definitely.
but that time doesn't have to be a hurdle. It takes time to produce something great, and then once it's out, then it lives forever.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
and
love it.
so if there are there any do you have any sort of tips for creators, black creators, in terms of sort of adapting to this uh really this digital first landscape of of producing products and everything? Are there any sort of like tips that you would give to anybody that were looking to do like live, like conventions, but can't do conventions anymore, um just to get the word out?
I know that I have a few friends that are switching over to like Twitch and Mixer and all of that. They're doing like live streaming, just to kind of get the word out. The main thing for black creators is, yeah, we it's good that we have our own community of creative individuals, but we need to make sure that we reach out as far as we can into these other pools of individuals. So, like I said, it's good that we have black creators together. Like we support each other. We watch out for each other, but we need to be able to expand our reach. And I think they'll be a lot happier about the reception that they get.
Yeah, so you don't have to be in your silos. You just
Yeah, yeah.
gotta.
Don't just yeah. You gotta be able to expand, and that's, like I said, that's what's so good about social media is yeah, you have your group of friends or like your community, but if you put like, make sure you hashtag your stuff good, or you use certain wording, so that way you can reach the masses. Because that's the whole point of it, is to be able to not have something for our community that everybody can see, everybody can experience, and they can kind of get an understanding of our culture and the types of things that we like, we don't like, and all of that. Because that's kind of the issues that that people deal with on a regular basis.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And so, where can we sort of find all the stuff that like you were talking about in terms of like the stuff that you're working on, the the other projects that you're collaborating with, subreddits that you're part of?
Yeah, so I'm on Black Creatives on Reddit, and then this one production is called Obsidian Magic Productions. We haven't built the social media and the website because we just went through a name change, and then the other project, they have a social media page. It's called Project Tomorrow's Beautiful Future. If you want to check that out, we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Right now, we're kind of going through some adjustments right now because they're redoing some of the artwork. So, but you'll start seeing more of the concept art and some of the animatics and stuff like that once they start pushing those out. We're just trying to build some stuff up first before we start publishing it into social media.
Okay.
And I have my own website. It's CoreyIdleburg.com. It has some of my more recent stuff. Let me see. I have some of my military stuff on there. I did a fellowship with the NFL for a year, and so I have some of that stuff on there, and some of the stuff I do for like nonprofits. So, and then I have some of my videos. And the last thing is I'm going to be working on a podcast myself. It's basically going to be, we're going to be showcasing members that are either in the military or they're veterans and they're creatives just like me. So I'll probably talk to individuals that I know and that I don't know that range from like, illustrators, comic book artists, writers, photographers, just kind of so people can understand that individuals in the military, like we're all not just infantrymen or and do that thing. Like we actually have creative individuals that do have skills comparable to the individuals that are not in the military. So man, that should be coming up probably either this summer or in the fall. I'm still working out some things, talking to some people, so hopefully in the next few months I can get that off the ground.
Oh, nice. Yeah, definitely be on the lookout for that, because I know a lot of my friends are from the military, and family members, all that. The American expectation is right. Like you're one or two people away from having everybody in every branch. And so it's we'll definitely be on the lookout for that. And again, just thank you for your time and allowing us to sort of like learn a little bit about the other side of Black creativity with marketing and all those different things, especially Reddit, because I think people don't really see Reddit as like comparable or comparable to like Twitter, Instagram, or all those, or Facebook.
I think people I don't think people realize this, but a lot of the articles and stuff that they read now, like people pull that information from Reddit. Like they go on Reddit and do research, and then they write an article about it.
Yeah, so, it's like the Wikipedia of the 2020s. It's just this is where people find their information to put on Twitter, put on Facebook, put on Instagram. And so people check it out, explore other options, and don't be beholden to one site, because there's other stuff out there.
Right. Expand your wings.
Yeah. But again, thank you for the time and everything, and we'll call it a wrap from there.
All right, thanks, man.
And there we have it. That is another episode of the Black Superheroes Matter podcast in the wraps. Again, the purpose of this podcast is for people to get exposed to a variety of different things that Black people are creating in the arts and entertainment industry. The goal is for this podcast to bring light to all those and those creators, because as a community, we have the opportunity to skirt some of the problems that we've seen in this day and age when it comes to expressing Blackness. And so if you love this, definitely check out the more work that we're doing. Go to @BlackSuperheroesMatter, or you can go to blacksuperheroesmatter.com to check out the blog and the write-ups that we do on these guests. And if you're so inclined, feel free to support my work at Iltopia, where we have the Black Superheroes Matter art book, the Black Superheroes Matter sticker packs, and even coloring books, activity guides. And so if you want to check that stuff out, check it out at shop.iltopia.com. It's all Black owned. I might add, they're all handmade products. And they're all made with love for the community that has really given me the opportunity to find my place in this world. And so, again, thank you for another wonderful episode. Thank you for listening. Feel free to follow all the stuff that Black Superheroes Matter is cranking out. And excited to share another wonderful guest with you on next episode. So without further ado, thank you very much.